So we have this and one more race before a short break before we get into the business end of heat stay here for the second round of the Euro Trophy season in 2021. DD2 and DD2 Masters, Heat 3, Groups A versus C. Let's take you through the starting order. Philip Moitzi will start on the front row of the grid and will once again be joined by countrymen. We've got Daniel Mahacek. So 2 Austrians on the front row this time around. And also the fact that we've got Davide Fori and Ragnar Veres representing Italy and Estonia on row 2. Jakob Bez and Paolo Besonsone, row 3. Rasmus van der Bo and Ville Villelainen, row 4. Row 5, Zander Schiblak and Gregorio Bertocco. Row 6, Tim Mikames and Matthias Lund. Marcel Heisenberger and DD2 Masters pole sitter in this race, Alessandro Glauser. Row 7, Alessandro Farda and Matis Malinovskis. Yanni Gersons and Robert Chopian, row 9. Mick Knowlton and Pritsai, row 10. Paul Louvaux and Zen Menesi, row 11. Matic Kolmanic and Karl Klebort, row 12. Row 13, Logan Seyfried and Slavomir Moransky. You're rounding out the 27-strong order, Bruno Dos Santos. Another 10 minutes plus an additional lap set in stone on this. And now, as soon as things get underway this afternoon at what will be 10 past 4 local time after a short break, the business end really kicks in, and then the drivers know if they are in the danger zone that they do have to give it all and put it all on the line within the limits of adhesion. So, Moitzi Mahacek, Fore Virus, Basil Besonsone, Vendelbo Viliainen, Schiblak and Bertocco. That is your overall top 10 in this starting order. But now the waiting games, the mind games start. The psychological tactics of open warfare start to come into effect here on the racetrack. So Moitzi and Mahacek on the front row. I think that might not be a good start. I think that is a false start. It is confirmed on the traffic light system. So another formation lap. That was, as soon as I saw the likes of Moitzi and Davide Fo go straight on, and literally they gap the likes of Bezel and Vendelbo, and you saw that Mahacek, I think, might have just been caught out a little bit. That prompted the non-start. But I have seen it where I've seen it elsewhere where the starts for a bit of an untardy formation than that have been let go. But here at the Euro Trophy, the regulations state clearly that you have to be in a very, very close proximity. Reference your starting position, and we have had it before where if there are 2 false starts, we instantly get a red flag, and then the race director will go over to the front row and have an open discussion with them, and maybe also with the rest of the field. But that is very, very rarely an occurrence. So they do have another opportunity. So again, it's Moitzi Mahacek, Davide Fori, Ragnar Veres, Jakob Bezel, Paolo Besonsone, Rasmus Vendelbo, Ville Viliainen, Zander Schiblak and Gregorio Bertocco. That is your top 10. Your pole sitter for DD2 Masters, down in 14th on the outside of row 7 is Alessandro Glauser. So, revs rise. Are we ready? Are we steady? Ladies and gentlemen, we're off and racing, and a good start. Once again by Philip Moitzi. Mahacek hung round the outside to dry a little bit as Davide Fori and also Jakob Bezel have got through up into 2nd and 3rd position respectively. Ragnar Veres rounds out the top 5. It's a good battle there for 6th position, which looks to be taken by Zander Schiblak. Oh, that's 4 wide. I cannot believe I've just seen that. 4 wide, and we've already had an altercation. And was that was the 408. That was Matthias Lund. Possibly trying to go past, maybe. I'm thinking that might have been Timmy Kamets that he might have had a little bit of a tangle with. Not 100% sure. But whoever that Matthias Lund had a bit of a tangle with, that was not exactly cricket. However, at the front of the field. Philip Moitzi looking to stretch an advantage, and now is ahead of Davide Fore by 3.5 tenths. Philip Moitzi puts in a 52.6. Jakob Bezel, Daniel Mahacek, Rasmus Vendelbo, Zona Schublak. And then we got Ragnar Virus, Paolo Besancini, Ville Villainen, and Marcel Heisenberger up 3 places from P10. Goes the Austrian. Gregorio Bertocco and Alessandro Farda round out the top 12, followed by Matis Malinovskis, Tim Mikemetz and Robert Chopian. The last of those drivers running on the Mach 1 chassis, running the Kashmir colours. Alessandro Glauser still leads DD2 Masters, but for how much longer? Because Pritzai is not too far behind. The Estonian is about 4 tenths of a second adrift. 8 minutes and 18 seconds plus an additional lap to go. Matic, Kolmanic and Bruno Dos Santos down towards the bottom of the timesheets here in heat number 3, groups A and C, as there's a move up the inside. That was going through turn 1. And that might have been possibly a move done by Robert Chopian, maybe on Alessandro Farda. As Zona Schublak and Daniel Mahacek has just gone into battle, as is Rasmus Vendelbo, and Schublak now up into P3 as Jakob Bezel trying to fight with Davide Fore for second position. This is allowing Philip Moitzi from KRT Racing the perfect opportunity to get out of the way of it all, and his gap was nearly 3 tenths over Davide Fore after 2 laps. That looks to be doubled at the very least, maybe nigh on trebled after 3 laps, because now Philip Moitzi comes across the line and puts it, and now that gap has gone up to nearly a second. He's absolutely getting away from everybody behind because they're all battling over the scraps. Davide Fore has got a bit of daylight between himself and Jakob Bezel, but here comes Zona Schublak, the driver based out of Genk, whose goal is to look to race in Formula 1 in future years in his motorsport career. Well, he's with Stampex Motorsport. 2-time BNL Karting Series champion in 2018 and 2019, but took the DD2 Euro Trophy crown last season after finishing runner-up. As there is Besancene, he's been in the trenches. Malinovskis was not too far behind the rear bumper of the Frenchman from KMD, representing France in the 405. It is not an easy one out there, and especially with these hot temperatures, the drivers are going to be sweating and they're going to be losing fluid. Now, obviously, one of the biggest things that you have to do as a driver is to make sure that you're fully hydrated and that you're eating correctly. You're doing the right physical workouts, such as core exercises. Some people will actually have rib protectors because these karts can be rather abrasive against the sides of the rib cage, and especially if you've not been in the kart for a little bit of time, a rib protector will actually not just cost you money, but it will actually help save your rib cage a little bit, because I've seen where people have been bruised, they've had slightly cracked ribs as a result of testing. But now the battle for second position really heating up, because Davide Fore is the cork in the bottle. Jakob Bezel just behind. Then it's Zona Schublak. Then Daniel Mahacek. Ragnar Virus. And here comes the flying Finn, the one, the only, Ville Villainen, rounding out to the top 6 in the in the top 7 in the 462 from RS competition. And now Mahacek fancies an opportunity to see if he can get past Zona Schublak. Not on this particular occasion, he doesn't, but we still got just over halfway of this race still remaining, plus an additional lap. And Philip Moitzi has got a gap of over 8 tenths of a second ahead of Davide Fore, but Davide Fore last time was slightly quicker than the Austrian on that particular lap. So we're on lap 6 of this race, and the driver's still pushing like crazy. Moitzi putting in hot lap after hot lap. He's running in the 50.8s, but Ville Villainen on cue. 50.632 for the Finn, running on the Tony Kart chassis, running at the top 7. And he's closing on Ragnar Virus. He's right in the slipstream of Ragnar Virus, going down the start-finish straight. Can he have an opportunity to sweep up the inside through turn 1? Not on this particular occasion. But it is pretty much, I wouldn't call it processional, but they are literally nigh on line astern with each other. There's equilateral distances between the karts in some respects, especially they close up during the braking zone. As I saw that Ragnar Virus closed up to Daniel Mahacek in the braking zone for the left-hand hairpin through turn 5. Robert Chopian falls behind Matthias Lund, who is having a very, very difficult race weekend so far. Points leader coming into this round here at Adria. by 5 points. Also, another call out, please, for Italy's Andrea Giudice, 328 senior Rotax. Andrea Giudice, 328 senior Rotax. Report to the stewards immediately. Thank you. Moitzi still leads. Gap is 8.5 tenths between him and Davide Fore. Jakob Bezel in third. Zona Schiblak has yet to get an opportunity to get past the Czech driver. And what that means is that you have the 2019 champion followed by the 2020 champion. For those wanting their memory refreshed a little bit, our inaugural champion was Denmark's Martin Henkel Mortensen, who has gone on to other things. I think he's running in Super GT in Denmark these days, which are sort of like silhouette racing cars. So good luck to Martin in his future endeavours. I know that he's been doing a bit of this, a bit of that as well. So in many respects, good to see that from the Euro Trophy you can go on to do other things, such as running on circuit. And obviously other drivers such as Patrick Rundqvist going into well, I think it was Robin Knutsson who's ended up in STCC, and Patrick Rundqvist in Porsche Carrera Cup Scandinavia. So the very best of luck to those two Swedes in their future endeavours. But we still have 2.5 minutes to go. Moitzi has not let go of that lead, and that lead is around about 7.7 tenths of a second ahead of Davide Fore. And now Ville Viljainen has set the fastest lap on the previous tour, but it's getting rather close between the likes of Malinovskis, amongst others, I believe. And there is Malinovskis. He is ahead of, that is Rasmus Vendelbo, I believe. And he's behind Paolo Bisonsine. Someone else is kicking up the dust coming out of the final corner. Pritzai currently is, well, it has all changed because it has been a disaster to forget for Alessandro Glauser, because now Paul Louveau, our points leader in DD2 Masters, is ahead of Pritzai by about 8 tenths of a second. So Paul Louveau took the clean sweep in the finals at Karting Genk last month, as here we have this ding-dong battle between the likes of Gregorio Bertocco and Matis Malinovskis. And you can't exactly miss that bright light cyan blue on the X Racing team number 414 of the Latvian. We're into the last 90 seconds of this race, plus an additional lap. And still, Moitzi has been keeping that gap pretty stable. And what's more, lap 10, he's put the fastest lap of the race in. So a 50.340, 14 thousandths quicker than multi-time world champion Davide Fore. Jakob Bezel, Zana Schiblak, Daniel Mahacek ran at the top 5. So Rasmus Vendelbo has got past Matis Malinovskis. And at the moment, the running order in DD2 Masters, Paul Louveau in 18th ahead of Pritzai from Estonia. Then we go down to 24th with Karl Klibort ahead of Slavomir Moransky, Bruno Dos Santos and pole sitter. Shame for Alessandro Glauser from Switzerland, who was starting all the way up in 14th position. Moitzi goes on to the penultimate lap of this race and still keeps a pretty good gap between himself and the Italian. And Ville Viljainen gets past Daniel Mahacek, so the Austrian having to relinquish that position, and has got Ragnar Veres closing on his 6. And at the moment, Zana Schiblak has gone and put his fastest lap in very quick effect, a 50.5 on the previous lap to the one that we just completed, 50.438. But now timer has hit 0, 10 minutes are up. Moitzi will now get the final lap board, and we'll see the sign that he needs, as will Davide Fore and Jakob Bezel. And Davide Fore, on cue, puts in the fastest lap of anybody, 50.294. And everyone in the top 20 have broken, well, apart from Paul Louveau, everyone in the top 20, apart from Paul Louveau, have actually broken the 51-second barrier. As now Daniel Mahacek on the final lap trying to get past Ville Viljainen, but I'm not too sure if the Finn will oblige, because it's all war. It's all fair in love and war out there. And now Viljainen looking to get one past on Zana Schiblak. However, Philip Moitzi, very, very much the person to be talked about in this race at the end of it all, because the Austrian from KRT Racing Team powers out of the final corner and takes the heat victory ahead of Italy's Davide Fore. Czech Republic's Jakub Bezel rounds out the top three. Zona Shriblak, the defending champion, takes P4, having started down in 9th position, with Ville Villelainen rounding out the top 5. And Villelainen started in 8th place, finished in 5th, and Jakub Bezel started in 5th, finished in 3rd place. And in terms of DD2 Masters, well, félicitations pour Louveau. Once again, showing his credence. Pritzai actually started a position ahead of Paul Louveau, and funnily enough, finished a position behind him. And rounding out the top 3, Carl Klebot, the backer, running down in 24th, which is exactly where he started. But let's have a look at the finishing order from 5th downwards. So Daniel Mahacek in 6th, ahead of Ragnar Virus, with Marcel Heisenberger, Tim Mikametz, and the recovering Paolo Besonsene in 10th, Rasmus van der Bo, Matis Malinovskis, Gregorio Bertocco, Alessandro Fardin, and Yannick Gersens round out the top 15. Mick Knowlton in 16th, Matthias Lund in 17th, Paul Louveau, the DD2 Masters Heat winner, in 18th, ahead of Pritzai, Robert Chopian, Zayn Menesi, Lawrence Eifried, Matic Kormanic, Karl Klebot, Slavomir Moransky, Bruno Dos Santos, and Alessandro Glauser.